Hi guys, Geoffrey here. In this video, I wanted to show you the process of how relationships typically break down and how you find yourself in this position where your relationship could have started in a very, very good place, but now you're finding yourself in the brink of a divorce, separation, where you can't even talk to your partner even, where there's no hope. How do we get from here all the way down here? And I want you to stay to the end of this video because as my channel grows, I'm getting more and more questions around the topic of what ifs or what about. What about my situation? What if this? Can I save my marriage if? Is my situation unique or different? And is it too late for me to try to save my marriage? And I want to show you this breakdown because understanding this breakdown will help to dispel a lot of these questions and show you why, even though your situation may be different than most people, the remedy, the process that you need to take to actually fix your relationship is actually the same. And if you look at all of my testimonials, for example, you'll see these men and women starting out in very, very different scenarios, in very, very different situations, but you'll always see that the path that they take to actually saving the relationship and reconciling is going to be exactly the same. And so in case you're new to this channel, my name is Geoffrey and I help men in long-term relationships or in marriages with the right skills and knowledge to be able to design a thriving relationship by themselves. So if you want more content on this topic, be sure to subscribe to this channel and also click that bell button as well to be notified when I post new videos every single week. Now, before I begin this video as well, I also want to let you know that the free masterclass on the 5 proven steps to rebuilding your relationship from the ground up is still open. So if you want to join me in that masterclass or if you want to submit your application for the Relationships Revival program, be sure to stick around to the very end of this video for an announcement on how you can join both those things. So again, let's paint a picture here of where you guys are at. You might have started with a great relationship. You have this honeymoon period, maybe 5-10 years ago when you first got married, when you first met each other. But now you are finding yourself in a position where in this nightmare position of facing divorce and facing the end of the relationship, and you can't even talk to your partner often. Your partner doesn't even want to talk to you, want to see your changes. They're out, they're feeling hopeless. So how the heck did we actually get here? Now, this is going to be part 1 to this video where I'll show you how relationships break down. In the next video, coming in 2 weeks, we'll show you how to rebuild the relationship back up and what that journey often looks like as well. So stay tuned to my channel for that video as well. And understanding how relationships break down is crucial because, often people have the wrong diagnosis of what happened and why the relationship break down. And when you have the wrong diagnosis, that often leads to the wrong treatments as well, where you are seeking the wrong tactics, the wrong shortcuts around how to save your relationship. You are perhaps even leaving the relationship prematurely and ruining the legacy that is going to be for your children, for your business, whatever it is. Divorce is a very high cost thing. And the worst of all here, as we'll talk about later, the breakdown of the relationship is it's a silent killer. It's a death by 1,000 cuts thing. And so when you misdiagnose a situation, most likely you haven't really learned what you need to learn to carry over to your next relationship, which leads you to subconsciously create the same problems in the next relationship. And that's why a lot of people fall in this cycle of repeating their bad relationships over and over and over again, and they wonder why. So let's zoom in here on this picture of how do we get from really good honeymoon period all the way down to where you are right now, where you're facing divorce. And if you zoom in on this line, this trajectory right here, you'll see what we call the 4-stage cycle of how relationships break down. And the 4-stage cycle is, again, 4 parts. Now, the first stage of these 4 stages is when the conflict occurs. And this conflict can be something very tiny, especially in the beginning as well. But as you go through life, these conflicts are going to happen. As you get new jobs, for example, as you move from city to city, as life happens, like you blow out a tire, for example, or when you start to have kids, these problems are going to come up. And so in the beginning, this problem, for example, might be something as small as fighting over the AC remote. So let's say here you're on your honeymoon and you're lying in bed together and your partner says, "Oh, it's so warm in here." Now what happens then when we have this conflict is that we often very subconsciously, we don't handle these conflicts in the best ways possible. So let's say, going back to the example again, let's say your partner says, "I'm feeling very warm right now." And because you're tired, you're sleepy, you don't respond in the best way. So you just say, "Just forget it." And you get annoyed, you respond in a very annoyed tone, etc. And so a lot of times, this stage 2, when we're not responding in the best way possible, this is not often an action that's bred out of bad intentions. It's not that we're trying to hurt the other person, but because maybe we're tired, maybe we're preoccupied with something else, we respond in the wrong ways. And so let's say you respond in this very annoyed tone and you just shut down your partner at that point in time, then that brings us to the 3rd stage, which is when safety is slowly broken. So if, let's say, your partner brings up this notion of, hey, I feel warm, can we turn down the AC or turn down the temperature? And you shut her down like that. Then the next time she wants to bring up something, there's going to be a bit of second thoughts around, should I bring this up? The last time I brought this up, it didn't go very well. And with the loss of safety here, it brings us to the fourth stage, which is because your partner now have some blockages to how much she can express, a lot more assumptions too. Right? So the next time, let's say she has a problem, she won't go to you. Instead, what happens is she will let these assumptions stew and she'll say, oh, the next time I bring this up, my partner's not going to take it very well, or my partner never takes it very well, or I can't really communicate with my partner. So what happens now is that these assumptions then create new problems. And I'm sure there's a lot of moments in your relationship where your partner has been stewing on something and feeling angry about something that you did perhaps, or something that happened. And it could be based on a very big misunderstanding. But because, again, she doesn't have the safety to bring it up to you, that assumption stews and stews and stews and then creates a bigger problem later on. And so we repeat the cycle again where that creates new problems, where you might not handle it properly the next time, which destroys more safety, which creates more assumption, which creates more problems, and so on. And so you can imagine here that if we zoom in on this line again of how your relationship broke down, you can see that this cycle has been created many, many times. Often 10,000, 100,000, millions of times, countless of times. And the worst part is that most of these cycles that happen, you're not even aware of it. Because again, when you destroy that safety, you're often not aware that you're even destroying safety. So you can imagine here, when you add up all these moments together, they create this sense of death by 1,000 cuts. Where at first, yes, you might be fighting over the AC remote, might not be a big deal, but then later on as you continue, you can imagine here that the assumptions that your partner harbors and what you harbor as well for your partner starts to get more vicious, starts to get more and more debilitating over time. To the point where now, you fast forward 5 years later, 20 years later, 10 years later, whatever it is, you have some very insidious assumptions that you both are making about each other, and that creates a lot of embitterment. And this is what leads to the sense of hopelessness, the sense of, I want to give up on this, I hate you, I don't like you, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to spend time with you, I want to get out of this relationship. And because a lot of people can't see that these 4 stages, this 4-stage cycle is happening, at the end of the day, when your partner says to you, for example, I'm divorcing you because we don't have any attraction anymore, because we don't align on goals, because of all this embitterment and stuff like that, you're going to say, okay, our relationship broke down because we're not a fit together. But actually, your relationship break down not because of all these issues of communication issues, of that you're not a fit, you're sexually stale, or the attraction has gone away, your goals don't align, but because of all these death by 1,000 cuts that happen over time. And so when I look at all my clients who are facing the same scenario, and I really study why don't they see this, why don't most people see this, is really 3 reasons behind this. And the first reason here is that for a lot of men especially, we often see ourselves as these great protectors, where we are, let's say, bringing home the bacon, we are organizing the household, and we're taking care of the household, we're taking care of our wives in what we call the low-level values. So often, and we see that, my relationship is not as good as it was in the beginning, but that's okay, because I'm still doing what I need to do as a husband, as a protector. So you get to hide behind that sense that I'm still providing. As long as I'm still providing, I'm not the worst husband in the world. So why should she want to get a divorce? Why should she want to leave? At the very least, I think I create enough value to where if there's a problem, before she leaves, she will come to me about it and actually talk to me about the problems. And the second reason why a lot of people can't spot it also is that this is a very, very slow progression. It's almost like if you have a child, for example, and you see that child every single day, you're not going to see the incremental tiny growth that your child has over time. But of course, from a third-party person perspective, if you look at, let's say, a whole year, if you haven't seen your child for a whole year, suddenly it becomes very obvious, wow, you've grown so much. But if you are there every single day, you're not going to notice how much your children just have grown. Now, this example I'm giving you is something that we can actually see. The different part about safety and the loss of safety and the buildup of assumptions over time in your partner's mind is that you can't see this. So if it's really hard to spot your child's, your child's growth when you can see it, if you see it every day, it'll be even more impossible to see this breakdown that you can't even see, the breakdown of safety and the buildup of all these assumptions that you both have to each other. You can't see that. And the third reason, and this is the most important reason of why you can't see this, is that when you have a loss of safety, the hallmark of a loss of safety is that you cannot communicate to each other. You cannot express things to each other. So your partner could be really, really unhappy, but she will never tell you how unhappy she is. Because again, that's the nature of what it means to not have safety, is that you can't express yourself. You have a lot of second thoughts about expressing yourself. So if you look at this chart again of like, how did you get from this part where you're happy to really unhappy, and you look at this line, this path right here of how it degraded over time, a lot of people never see this. And the only time they see that the relationship has really, really been breaking down, and this cycle, this death by 1,000 cuts has been happening, is when the bomb drops, really. Is when you discover that your partner doesn't feel anything for you anymore. When things become so hopeless that even though you don't have safety, you have to express just how embittered you feel, just how unhappy you feel. And this is the moment when this cycle, this 4-stage cycle, has happened so long and with so many cycles that safety has been destroyed over and over and over again through death by 1,000 cuts. And when the assumptions have racked up so badly to the point where you may be harboring a lot of negative feelings to your partner, and your partner may be harboring a lot of negative feelings towards you as well, where things become really hopeless and find yourself in this catch-22 where you feel hopeless, you feel unhappy, but you can't even talk about how unhappy you are because the communication is broken down so much due to the lack of safety and due to so many bad assumptions being made. Where these assumptions, whenever one of you brings up something now, you're going to argue about it. It's going to cause a row because all these bad assumptions is fueling all these defense mechanisms that you might have for each other as well. And this reason is also why I often say your situation is never ever unique. Because again, we enroll 1,500 plus people every single year. And all of them wait and only realize their problem and their need to come to my program only when things are very dire. And so for you to think that your situation is somehow unique, somehow more dire than all the people who enroll, the 1,500 people plus, that's a bit odd. So again, if you're asking yourself, what if? Will this work if? Am I too late? Whatever it is. Think again. Really ask yourself, is your situation really that unique? Given that every single person only realizes their need to change and to do something when things are very dire. Now, once we understand this, we have to understand that this distinction, that your relationship is not breaking down because of all these big things that you think it is, but because of these small, tiny little cuts. We get to understand 5 very important takeaways that we need to understand if we ever want any hope of reconciling or creating a good relationship sometime down the line in the future. The first one here is that this is a skill that you must learn either now or later. And the skill that you have to learn here is that, 1, you have to be able to identify and be aware and build your awareness of all these cuts that could potentially happen in the relationship. And you also need to program the skill to be able to remedy those cuts. So again, previously we talked about how a lot of the times when we destroy safety, we don't even know we're destroying safety. We're unaware of it. It falls below our consciousness. And if we never learn the skill to be conscious of all these entropy and all these issues that are happening in the relationship and be able to catch ourselves and catch the moment and be able to remedy it, if we allow those cuts to just keep cutting our relationship over time, we're inadvertently continuing to just kill the relationship without us even knowing, which puts us in the same position we are in now, where we find ourselves in the brink of a divorce and we have no idea how we got there even. And so the skill of learning the principles behind relationships, principles of awareness and building this awareness and being able to program ourselves to be able to turn these cuts from negative to positive, this is a skill that you have to learn now or later, and you cannot escape it. You can use the excuse right now of blaming this on your partner, for example, as a denial to excuse yourself from doing this. You could tell yourself, for example, it's okay, let me just leave this toxic person, let me just start a new relationship. You can do that. But at the end of the day, you cannot escape the need to do this, because even if you have the next relationship, you're going to find that you're going to repeat the same mistakes in the next relationship. And you're not going to know what happened in the next relationship as well. This is key. This is crucial. And this is why I often say to people, it doesn't matter if you think it's too late or not. It doesn't matter what you think your situation is, how dire you think it is, how hopeless you think it is. At the end of the day, you cannot escape the work of actually working on yourself, creating this genuine, deep internal shifts that will last you for years, decades, in other relationships, etc. You can never ever escape that. So if you can never escape that, do it. It doesn't matter if your relationship is hopeless or not. And the reason why people have a string of failed relationships usually is because they never learn this. So let's say for you right now, you give up in this relationship and you start a new one. As you start a new one, you realize that it's breaking down again. But instead of assigning it to the fact that you are not able to lead all these small moments, you say, oh, it's my partner's fault. Oh, we're not meant to be together. Or all these miscellaneous reasons of why your relationship broke down. And you never ever really discover that this is the actual root of why your relationships break down. It's dying by 1,000 cuts every single time. The second takeaway here, if the root cause is always the same, then the remedy is also always the same. It never changes as well. And if you look at all my client stories, all of them started out in very dire situations. We know this. And very unique situations as well. But no matter what dire or unique situation they find themselves starting with, the remedy, if you notice, is exactly the same. It's always to create safety first and foremost. And I always say, if you, let's say, have a remedy, that you can take this remedy and solve all your problems, who gives a crap about how unique your situation is? Who gives a crap about how different your situation is? It doesn't really matter. For example, if you have a pill that can cure all diseases, that can cure everything you can think of, why even spend time trying to diagnose yourself? Who cares? Create safety and you can solve all these other problems in a relationship. And again, we've made this in other videos as well. You might think that the problem here is that your partner is having a midlife crisis. There's not enough attraction, etc., etc., etc. Your partner's having an affair. Your partner's stonewalling you. Those are not the real problems. Those problems are not problems if you have safety. If let's say your partner's having a midlife crisis or having some crisis of her own that she needs to work through. If you have safety, then you can become the person who she wants to spend that time with, to share that depression, to share that midlife crisis with. But if you don't have safety, that's when it gets really hopeless, where she loses if she shares, but she loses if she doesn't share as well. Same thing for goal alignment. If you have goal alignment issues or attraction issues, but you can talk about it, you have safety to talk about it, then you can resolve it. There's at least that hope. But if you don't even have that hope or ability to be able to talk about it, forget it. It's not going to work out. Safety is always the root of all issues. You solve that, you solve so many problems in relationships. Now, when you truly understand how to create safety, you also realize here that creating safety creates you pretty fast results. But it's not going to be lasting results, but a lot of my clients have realized that when you truly understand how to create safety, you get pretty quick results. And the analogy that I have for you is almost like a dam. Imagine there's a dam here and there's all this water next to it. When you create safety, what you're doing is you're creating a hole in this dam and all this water just gushes out. Because in the relationship, once you create safety and once you create this ability for your partner to express the problems, then you're opening up hope, because now at least she can talk about it. You remove her from that catch-22 where without safety, she cannot talk about it. But if she talks about it, then she gets into trouble as well. And so it's also why my clients can reinstill hope very, very quickly in their relationship. But again, reinstilling hope very quickly does not mean you're reconciling here. You're just allowing this initial surge of hope to come into the relationship. Now, the fourth thing to understand also is that creating safety, the full spectrum of safety, takes a lot of time. Because again, part of the discussion of safety here is that your partner has built up many layers of negative assumptions about you, negative confirmation biases about you. So you could think about, for example, the perfect thing you can say, the perfect thing to do. You could stuff a suitcase with $1 million right now and give it to her. And she will twist and bend that good act into something manipulative. For example, she might say, oh, you're just doing this because you want to get me back, or trying to manipulate me back because you're needy and you're sad, whatever it is. So the point is this: if there is no quick fixes, there's no magic bullets, there's no silver bullets, there's nothing you can do or say that's not going to be reinterpreted in a bad way, stop trying to seek shortcuts. The shortcuts don't exist. Stop trying to seek shortcuts. And a lot of my clients do this. They have to spend so long trying to seek shortcuts until they realize there's nothing. The only shortcut, the only fastest way to really reconcile is if you really grow within. You learn the skills to create safety for real, not just say that you are or do things to manipulate that into coming. And for a lot of my clients, it takes 6 to 12 months to really understand, one, how to create safety, and how to create the internal shifts, and how to change the way they talk and interact to create safety. And once they create safety, they're able to create safety like this, it takes them even longer, for them to slowly reverse all of these death by a thousand cuts and slowly reverse all the negative assumptions that is built up over so many years, so long. It takes a long time. And we'll talk more about this in the next video when we talk about the reconciliation process and what that looks like. But this is going to take a long time. There is no shortcut. Stop looking for shortcuts. Again, I always tell my clients, hey, if you're not ready for my program, which is no shortcuts, it's a very heavy program, and it takes a long time, 6 to 12 months for my students to master it. If you're not ready for that, you're still looking for shortcuts, go pay $100, $200, $500 to seek all the shortcuts you want. Buy other programs. And when you realize that it doesn't work and you realize that you wasted 6 months of your life, come back and let's do the work for real. There are no shortcuts. The sooner you accept that, the better. And the fifth thing to take away here is that these changes that you're making, the ability to create safety and to remove this negative assumptions needs to be deeply programmed. Because again, the problem here is that a lot of times when we destroy safety, we're destroying safety unknowingly, out of negligence. Not because we're trying to destroy safety, but we accidentally do it. And so what happens here is that if you are relying on, let's say, on scripts, on tactics here and there to try to save your relationship, yes, you might be able to spot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the cuts that you're forming and be able to patch those cuts. But what you're not doing is you're not becoming aware of the hundreds, if not thousands, of subconscious cuts that you may be creating that may be happening in the relationship. And while you may be fixing the 5, you are dying still by 1,000 cuts. And the worst part is that you won't even know you're dying by 1,000 cuts. All these cuts are killing you. Because again, you haven't made the principles into a deep programming. And so the reason why I say that you need to make this a programming is that when you make this a programming, the programming becomes your lowest default, meaning that creating safety internally, but also externally as well, becomes your lowest default. And when it comes to your lowest default, it doesn't matter if you're tired, if you're preoccupied, that is just how you talk. That is just how you respond now. That is just how you respond mentally, but also externally as well, as you speak, as you do things with your partner. And when that happens, you don't need to be aware of all these 1,000 cuts that are happening anymore. Because whatever happens, you're just responding in this more healthier and more productive way that actually creates safety. And often now, instead of destroying safety without you even knowing it, now you're creating safety without even you knowing it as well. Which is why this identity shifting, this programming is such an important part of our program as well. And again, this is why it takes my clients at least 6 to 12 months to really understand how to reverse the bad cycle in their relationship. Because it takes a long time to even learn the principles, program the principles. And then once you program it, it takes a while for your partner to really understand and feel those changes and reverse those negative assumptions that she's made over a long time as well. So I hope that was helpful, guys, and I hope that was eye-opening. I know that was a more complex video, but I want to show you here, again, the real reasons, the root reasons of why relationships break down, to allow you so that you don't misdiagnose this and you understand the next steps that you need to actually take so that you don't repeat the same mistakes over and over again, whether it's in this relationship or in the next relationship that you have as well. And in the next video, again, we'll talk about what that journey to reconciliation actually looks like and what you can expect during that journey as well. Now, in the meantime, if you guys want to learn more about the process of how to actually build this awareness of how you can spot whenever the cuts are happening and how you can patch the cuts, both the internal shifts and also the external shifts to be able to allow you to patch the cuts as well, you can join me in my masterclass. We talk about the system that we have that teaches men how to do this in a very meaningful way. And I'll show you that path, that journey, the key skills that you need to learn to actually do that, to actually bridge that gap as well. So if you want to join that masterclass, you can click the link above my head or also down below this video. And if you want to submit your application for the program as well, we'll show you how to apply for the program at the end of the masterclass as well. Now, if you want a free guide that can help you understand how to lead conversations better, to patch some of the band-aids right now, then you can download the guide I have for you down below this video or above my head as well. But just understand again that in order for you to really reconcile in a relationship, you cannot just patch 5 things, the handful of things. You have to patch everything. You have to make it part of your deep programming. And guys, if you have any questions on this, feel free to leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. And if you find this video valuable, like it and subscribe to this channel for more content like this one as well. In the meantime, I'll leave you with just 2 other videos with more skills and knowledge for you to design a thriving relationship on your own.